Yo, pull up a chair, let the real talk begin. Faith on the table where the brothers lock in. Life gets heavy, but we stand our ground. Truth in the room when the circle comes round. No mask, no front, just real man here. Talking about faith through the doubt and the fear. From the grind of the week to the lessons we share. Welcome to the men's round table, pull up a chair. Men's round table series, step inside. Real men, real faith, where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the men's round table. Pull up a chair.
Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series Interview Spotlight. I'm your host, Mr. U. Wherever you are and have you watching us for the very first time, please join us for the conversation. Thanks for making us part of your week. We're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course, YouTube as well. And of course, all social media platforms and listening platforms. So thanks again for making us part of your day and your week, for joining us in the conversation. If you have any questions for myself or our guest today, and you can see us visually in the episode, drop your questions or comments in the chat or in the comment section. When you're watching this, we'll do our best to answer those in the way that they are received. So thanks again. Our guest today, friend of the show, clinical psychologist, Dr. David Marcus is in the house. Dr. David, how are you? Good to have you back, brother.
I'm fine. Yeah, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Same here, same here. Today, now, for those who are looking at the name of this show and wondering about it, I always had to let people know we have a Men's Roundtable Series podcast that we do every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a one-on-one version of that show. That show has panelists from around the country and around the world, usually multiple. This is just a one-on-one. So we talk about the same issues. So if you guys that are watching, are almost all male audience, if you're watching us, we're still having the same discussions about the same topics that are germane to men, but this is just a one-on-one interview style format for the show. So just so you know, today's focus, Dr. David, I want to get into how men communicate under emotional pressure, and if that builds trust or if it destroys connection with the kids. I think it's really important for us to get into. So our entire episode today will be kind of focused along that line. And I want to ask you from the outset, you know, I think you may have said this, that, you know, most men were never taught how to talk to their kids when emotions run high. I know I've seen that in my own life. What do you think is the biggest common communication breakdown between fathers and their kids today?
Well, the biggest is one of the things that you're mentioning. They never really learned how to do it. Okay. We have to develop an emotional language, and typically that's with our parents. But man, you know, I've been seeing this term, the father wound. Okay. And I find it an interesting term, to tell you the truth, Mr. Yu, because can I call you Yusuf? I mean, it just seems so, okay, it just seems more friendly to do it that way. Anyway, the wound seems to be the absence of fathers. You know, I think when we talked before, we stressed the importance of being able to attend to your children. It means you have to be there. And a lot of the fathers and mothers too, you know, with two-income families, they're not present for their kids, you know. So the biggest imposition is time. You know, children need predictable time with their parents. They need to know when they're going to be available to them. All right. One of the things that the fathers and the mothers need to understand is this is not just something they want, it's something they really, really need. If you do, you know, the biggest problem is being preoccupied or being absent. You know, in the old days, you know, Joseph, it was easier because, you know, one income families, there was a parent at home. You could leave the work at the office. You can't do that anymore. You actually have to plan to have predictable time with your children. For instance, when my son was 5 years old, I realized as a psychologist.
One thing I don't want to do, Dr. David.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to go into that anecdote if you don't want me to.
It's okay. You froze. I thought you stopped talking. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. At 5 years old, you know, being a psychologist, I had evening hours and things like that. And I realized if I didn't plan some time with my son, it wasn't going to happen, you know. And he was 5 and he was interested and I was interested. So we got into parent-child classes of Taekwondo. And we did that 3 times a week together for 5 years. And that was our bonding time. And he took a year off to play baseball or something, and he came back, and I was his black belt instructor. And it was very, very, very cool. When he passed his black belt test, I put him up on my shoulder and walked him around the dojo, and everybody, hey, good for you, Seth, and
It's awesome.
it was a great moment.
That's awesome.
So yeah, my time with my son was always predictable. Also in the evenings when I put him to bed, and I tell him stories about his grandfather because his grandfather passed away early. I was only 24 when my grandfather passed away, when my father passed away. So I tell him stories about about his grandfather Manny, and that was a bonding time as well. These are important things for a child to develop an emotional language, which is a skill, for their self-esteem, for their resilience. I mean, all these things are important for fathers to understand. So the father wound is a wound. It's a true thing. You have to plan this type of thing. I'm emphasizing this to all the fathers out there because it's difficult to do. It is difficult to do in this day and age. And yet, there's no way around the fact that your children need it. We can go into the individual talks about resilience and self-esteem and emotional language if you wish, but it all starts with your being able to be attentive to your children, to attend to these things.
Yeah, when we talk about the father wound, this is just my perspective on this. I got a chance
Excuse
to
me.
experience, unfortunately, one aspect of it, but be really close to in the other aspect, where the father was in the house but not present. In my case, the
Yes.
father wasn't in the house, so I had to try to get validation long distance, if you will. But I hear it so much, and you mentioned the olden time, one was, I mean, the 1800, whatever it was. A lot of those times, the father was in the house, but emotionally absent. He was working so much, maybe because of the era, the time, the culture.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a necessity. I mean, working for pennies in salt mines and whatnot. But those are the kind of things that I think both of those can create that kind of wound. It's just my personal experience. It's a real thing. I really feel like a lot of fathers that we talk to and through our men's content and podcasts, a lot of them have the mindset, you know what? I didn't have it, so my son won't need it either. My father did without it, and I did without it, so my son and my grandson could do without it too. And it's a creation of generational issues that I just feel like it's really important that we really be cognizant of that, because a lot of men that I meet, that we talk to, they're not callous on purpose, Dr. David. I think they're just more like they're kind of speaking out of what they know as opposed to what they're learning actively now. And it's like it's pretty dangerous stuff if it's mishandled. The emotional illiteracy in fathers is astounding. But I'll let you keep on going. Is there something? I mean, a lot of fathers are really being good providers for their household. Give them all the props in the world for that. They're doing it. But sometimes they can be unintentionally making it unsafe for their kids emotionally. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, there's certain things that get in the way of helping your child to develop emotionally. Okay. The main thing is, how do you communicate with them emotionally? I call them the 4 assumptions that we make about our children about emotionality. And I'll go through them really quickly.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. These are assumptions we all make about our kids, and they're silent assumptions. Okay. And so we don't think about them, especially if we haven't had the experience that you're talking about. And I'll get to that too. The assumptions are developmental. The earliest one being I assume my child experiences their emotions. Now, this one's true. I mean, this is pretty much, you can count on this. Children know when they're mad, when they're sad, and they can feel it. It's only in cases of extreme abuse or neglect at a very early age that a child will literally divorce themselves from their emotions. I've only seen 2 children like that in my 40 years of practice, and I knew that this was going on because they could not play. They could not play. the world had intruded on their emotional space so much that they didn't have one anymore. And so that's a very sad state of affairs. The next one up the ladder is, okay, they have their emotions, but we assume that they can tolerate their intensity. Anybody who's had children knows that young children experience their emotions very intensely, temper tantrums, whatever it might be.
Oh yeah.
And they get they get overwhelmed. And so they have to sort of repress them and push them down. How do we help a child to be able to withstand the intensity of the emotions that they feel? That we can't assume. That needs to be taught through interaction with parents being what I call a soothing presence. Somebody who can actually take that intensity and be okay with it themselves. And that's what parents need to do, not only for their partner, but for their children. How to do that as a skill as well. I mean, I'm giving you the concepts here. And the third assumption, they have their feelings, they can tolerate the intensity of them. Do they have the language to express it? Here's where learning an emotional language comes in. A lot of fathers who didn't grow up interchange, speaking about their emotions because culturally or stiff upper lip or, fathers are solvers, not talkers. You can stereotype it any way you want, to tell you the truth, Joseph. But the idea is they're lacking that experience, so they don't know how to convey it with their children. They don't know how to help their children to develop emotional language because typically they don't have much of one. All right. So, and the last one, which is big with teenagers, okay, they have their emotions, they can tolerate their emotions, they have a language to express them. Is it safe for me to talk to my dad about these things?
Yeah.
Now, that's where fathers can really make it difficult for their kids. Okay. There's lots of ways to mess it up, to tell you the truth. All right. And one of these ways, and this is going to sound radical to your audience, I know it, is trying to make your child feel better. That doesn't work. I don't know how to say it any better than that. How do we do that? Well, your child is upset about something. We try to distract them,
Give them a treat.
Yeah, do something. Just, okay. Does that really teach them anything? No, it doesn't teach them emotional language.
It's Pavlov's dog all over again, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Pavlov's dog. Didn't work too well with them either, But anyway, try to make them laugh. Make a joke out of what they're talking about. That'll shut them down because, the big one that they do, the big one that we all do as parents, including me, because I'm a parent too, we try to give them the benefit of our experience. They start telling you something. You go, oh, yeah, I know. I went through that too. And this is how I felt, and this is what I should do, and this is what you should do too.
Now, when I was your age.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And as an adult, if you turn to somebody and you began to express yourself about something that was bothering you, and they jumped right in and said, oh, I know exactly how you feel. This is what I did, and this is what you should do. My guess as an adult, you would turn to them and say, just hear me out, right? Because I'm not ready to hear your experience. In fact, you're not letting me finish. I need to get it from in here to out here where I can look at it. I don't know, you need telling me what to do, So,
yeah.
And if it wasn't a good friend, you'd say thank you and go find a good friend. Now, the difference here is children won't do that. Do you really expect your 5-year-old to turn to dad and say, Dad, will you just stop and listen to me? Just shut up. They're not going to do that. They're going to sit there and listen politely. Well, maybe you did. I mean, I don't know.
No, not me. I'm talking about today's kids, the 2026 kid. I'm like, they are advancing super fast, Dr. David. They might say,
okay, I'll give you that.
I would not put it past them at this point. No, we advanced, sir.
Okay. Okay. I'm talking generically. You're right. But in any case, young children are geared to please their parents. When their parents feel good about them, they feel good about themselves. So I'll put it this way. Not all children will just sit there and say, time out, let me talk. I mean, they're not going to do that. They're going to listen politely. And then, you think you've got it nailed, because you've given the benefit of your experience. And then 3 days later, something similar happens and they're just as upset because they haven't learned a thing and they haven't expressed a thing. So it stays inside them and stays intense. And then they react to it. And since they don't have a language because you haven't helped them to develop it, they'll act out behaviorally. How many times have parents turned to their children, Joseph, and said, don't hit your brother. I told you to use your words, right? Use your words. Well, I had two brothers once, and they were fighting in my waiting room. I won't go through the whole thing. And the 8-year-old bit his brother. He bit him. And so we go out, Mom and I go into the waiting room. Mom says, what's going on? He bit me. And he had teeth marks. Oh, I mean, the kid really bit him. And the mother was mortified. I mean, here she is in the psychologist's office and her kids are biting one another,
Yeah.
So she told her to 8-year-old, I told you to use your words. And he looked at her in all innocence, Joseph, and said, I don't know how. And I said, that's where we need to go.
There you go.
We assume if our child is smart that they have a viable emotional language. Nuh-uh. They don't. That's a different skill, altogether. And in order to help develop that, you got to be a soothing presence, which makes them feel like they can talk to you, right? Don't try to make them feel better. Help them to elaborate. Help them to bring it out from them. Something's making it tough for you right now. Okay? Not saying, oh, I bet you're really sad about this. Why? Because he might not be feeling sad. He might describe it as frustration or anxiety or fear. You see what I'm saying? I mean, these are all subtleties that happen with kids. If it's about the parent himself, to make it safe, this is something I've taught so many fathers. The typical thing is when the child does something wrong, you give them a consequence and they go up to their room or whatever it might be. And the idea is they're going to learn their lesson. Don't do it again, right? Well, that's another assumption. The child may just think, oh, my dad's being mean again. I'm afraid of my dad. Wait till your dad comes home, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
That doesn't make it safe, If they can't express it emotionally, verbally, they're going to express it behaviorally. And all you can be able to do is react to them, give them more consequences, and hope they're learning their lesson. But it's the wrong lesson. The real lesson is, how do I deal with this situation? I need help in being able to express it so I can look at it and come up with a resolution to it. That's resilience. That's resilience. I mean, I hear what you said at the beginning. Oh, children are resilient. They don't need this. They don't need this. Well, I'll just throw my experience at you. I've had 40 years experience. I'm a parent myself, and I'm letting you know that don't work. It just doesn't work. All you're going to do is repeat what your parents did to you. Oh, I turned out okay. Did you? I don't know. Maybe you see, this is the thing that we didn't talk about. If you don't get that kind of soothing presence from your parents, children have the capacity, it's called elasticity. They can find somebody else to meet those emotional needs. Uncle Billy, grandma, whoever it might be. So as you get older, you find these people. We still need a soothing presence, even as men. We need to have somebody where we can express ourselves. And if you never learn to do it, all you do is defend against the feeling and say, I'm tough. You're not tough. You're just defending yourself. And nothing gets resolved.
Yeah. You going on and on let's
here,
take the last couple of minutes. Okay. Let's take the last couple of minutes to see if you can answer this question for us, and then we'll go ahead and close the show out. So for a father listening today who here's some things that kind of maybe trigger them, or they realize there could be a challenge there. What would you say
Mhm.
to them? How would you recommend that the father starts this week to help his kids experience him emotionally in a more positive way? Would you recommend to the father who's listening today how they can do that? And then we
Okay.
close the show out. Go ahead.
Okay. That last thing that I said, let's just take that as an example. Father does something that child doesn't like, give him a consequence, let's say,
Sure.
rather than go up there and give him lecture number 4 about, hey, this is why you're sitting in your room because you did this, right? Child's not being able to express the thing. All they do is resent the fact that you're giving them lecture number 4 and not giving them a chance to speak,
Right.
right? You go up there, and I had to do this myself. And in order to do it, because I got ticked off too, I'm a human being. Also, I'd have to calm down before I go up to my son's room after I gave him a consequence, and he's up there huffing and puffing, and to go up there and say, okay, Dad did something that you really didn't like, that made it tough for you. What was that? This is a totally different way of approaching it. And you're asking me, what can parents do? What can a father do? This is what you can do. All right. What you're doing is taking responsibility for you did indeed do something that he didn't like. You had a reason, and that reason will come out later in the process. But the first thing is to get them to be able to feel safe to express it. And by taking responsibility for it, you can say, yeah, that wasn't right because, I was in the middle of my Nintendo game and I just spent a half an hour on that level and my little brother, he reset the machine and I whacked him when he deserved it, right? Has he done it before? I mean, there's so much. Yeah, he's always being a pain in the neck. You're getting him to take it from in here to out here verbally. He's using his words. All the father needs to do is mirror back what he hears. I mean, you want to jump in and say, hey, cut it out. But that comes later. Well, you mirror back what you hear. Okay, your younger brother did this, you did that. He's always doing this. What's it like when he does it? Oh, I hate it, Dad. I hate it. And all this stuff. You mirror back what you hear, and this is the next line you say. I'm trying to be as quick as I can and say, based on how you see it, no wonder you feel the way you do. What have you just done? What have you have shown your son, A, that it's safe to express these things, B, that you respect him. You respect how he feels. You don't agree with what he did. The next line is how you resolve the situation. Based on how you see it, no wonder you hit your brother. But my job as your parent is to make sure you're both safe. And I can't do that if you're hitting each other. So what can we do? It's called a merger. So make sure I don't have to punish you again. What can we do? Well, come up with something. Take turns on the Nintendo. Whatever it is, I'll do something with your brother while it doesn't bother you. Whatever. Okay, let's try that out. What you have done is help the child reason out, express himself, tolerate the emotions, use his language, and now figure out something to do. You know what that's commonly called, Joseph? Wisdom. Wisdom. And this is a lifelong process. You want to know what resilience is in children? That's it. When they can tolerate things and figure out what to do, they're resilient. And when they grow up, you know what we call it then? Stress tolerance. And that's a very important part of being mature, right? I mean, let's face it, a temper tantrum when you're 5 is expected. A temper tantrum when you're 18 can land you up in jail. Somewhere along the line, you've got to learn to use your words. And this is how it works. There's a lot more to it, obviously. But you're asking me, what can they do? I'm giving them that. I'm saying, this is what you can start to try to do. Now, it's not going to be easy because if it's been, the lectures and everything else, or get defensive and get angry because the child's mad at you, all these things get in the way of this emptying out process that is so necessary for your child to become resilient and for them to trust that you're there for them and not just there to, wait till dad comes home type of thing,
Thank you, sir.
I'm saying a lot as quickly as I can. Yes, I have, but
Yeah, we
does
done.
that help? You think?
Yeah, we done all we can do today. But thank you for all you shared. We've been talking
Okay, I
about
hope
men's
we'll be on target. I mean, you let me know, Yusuf. Will
yes,
we?
sir. Absolutely on target.
Okay, I just
Thank
want
you for your time.
to. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, we've been talking about men communicating under emotional pressure, and you've been a big help. Clinical psychologist, Dr. David Marcus. Thank you for your time, sir. It's been a great episode.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. You take care.
Thanks for watching and listening, guys. Have a fantastic day. Follow us on all the social media platforms, even our YouTube channel as well. Drop your comments and questions in the chat wherever you find this show. We'd love to hear back from you soon. Have a good one.
Men's Roundtable Series, step inside. Real men, real faith, where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the Men's Roundtable, pull up a chair.